Brendan Fraser was supposed to be Superman? Hey guys, today we're going to talk about how Brendan Fraser was supposed to be Superman. Let's get right into it. Brendan Fraser came close to playing Superman in a J.J. Abrams film, and the actor recently revealed what the casting process was like. The Mummy star reportedly went so far as to put on the actual red and blue suit and couldn't help but admire himself in the mirror while doing so. Fraser said, "You feel kind of invincible, like I can fly." He adds, "The cape actually makes you think you have the power of flight, even though you know you don't." Nonetheless, while Fraser's chance to play Clark Kent never materialized, the actor remains proud of his ability to don the tights, boasting, "I've got that stripe, I did it." The planned project, with Brett Ratner at the helm, would have been titled Superman Flyby. The story would have taken place in an alternate universe where the planet Krypton does not explode. Rather, his father sends Kal-El, the future Superman, to Earth to prevent a large-scale civil war. When Kal-El matures into the Man of Steel, his cousin Ty-Zor invades Earth with an army of sinister Kryptonians, resulting in a showdown between the two. Warner Brothers went to great lengths to keep these plot details private, including printing the screenplay on crimson paper with black ink so it couldn't be photocopied. Fraser says of the experience, "I was allowed to sit in an office and read it for an hour. It was like a covert operation." While Brendan Fraser was a strong contender, he wasn't the only actor who came close to landing the role in Flyby. Ashton Kutcher, Matt Bomer, Paul Walker, and James Marsden were also in the running at the time. The project eventually stalled in development, prompting Ratner to decide to abandon it. McGee then stepped in to take over, only to leave the production soon after. Despite Abrams' request that Warner Brothers let him direct his own screenplay, the decision was made to go with Bryan Singer instead. At this point, the Flyby script was abandoned entirely in favor of a new creative direction for Superman Returns. While Superman has long been one of the world's most celebrated and beloved superheroes, only a few actors have had the opportunity to play him on the big screen. George Reeves was the first man to do so in a live-action film in the 1951 film Superman and the Mole Men. Christopher Reeve famously played the role in 4 consecutive films, beginning with Richard Donner's 1978 classic, Superman. Brandon Routh then took over the role in Superman Returns, playing the same version of the character as Christopher Reeve. Then Henry Cavill took on the role for appearances in the DCEU, including his own Man of Steel. Well, there weren't many parts Brendan Fraser couldn't get his hands on in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Fraser rose to prominence as a result of his roles in the numerous Mummy films. Furthermore, Fraser was open to any action film. But there was one he was turned away from. Looking back, one can't help but wonder how different Superman would have appeared if Brendan Fraser had been in the spotlight. The actor revealed that he had high hopes for the part. He revealed, "I auditioned for Superman in what would become Superman Returns. I even wore a suit. It was cool. It was pretty cool. I mean, I didn't get the job, it went away." Ultimately, Brendan Fraser did point the finger at Brett Ratner, who was the director at the time. He said, "Brett Ratner was a bit woohoo in those days, and that's well documented. And that was a script J.J. Abrams wrote, but it never got made, and it was a freaking Shakespeare in space. It was so cool. It was worlds colliding, and it was really, really cool. But you know, I hear he's done well since then." Brandon Routh ended up getting the role, but the playing field for Superman Returns wound up being extremely difficult. Bryan Singer eventually took over, and New Line Cinema couldn't be happier. Ratner stepped down, according to a press release, due to a scheduling conflict with Rush Hour 3. Variety, on the other hand, linked it to a larger issue. Ratner's casting choices and large budget, according to speculation, gave the impression that he was losing control. Variety wrote, "Studio also became uncomfortable with Ratner's collaborative decision-making style that sought to please everyone but ultimately didn't please Warner's." They then added, "The Superman budget also had escalated to $225 million, even with the hiring of a second-line producer to bring the budget down to $200 million. Superman Returns was released in 2006 without Ratner's involvement. It did well at the box office, grossing $391 million, despite having an absurd budget of $204 million. The film received mixed reviews from critics, but one can't help but wonder what it would have looked like with Brendan Fraser in the lead. Rush Hour 3 was released in 2007 and, in comparison to the previous films, took a significant hit at the box office, grossing $258 million. Although it was a strong number, it was a significant downgrade compared to the sequel, which was a huge success with critics and the box office, earning $347 million. We haven't seen a 4th installment yet, and fans are wondering if one will ever be released. Despite persistent rumors, there appears to be no plan in place at the moment. Meanwhile, Henry Cavill has been fired as Superman just days after Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman 3 was axed as part of a massive shakeup at Warner Brothers DC Films. So, there's really no telling what could happen. That's all for today, and we'll be sure to catch you all in the next one.